unmute things.
I remembered to unmute this time. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hi. It's Wednesday.
Hello.
Owie, thank you so much for the 30-month resub. And Jackie, thank you so much for the 42-month resub. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you both. Hi. Not that I didn't just see you both all weekend, but that's beside the point.
It doesn't count.
Because Jackie and Owie were both at the convention that I was at. Because they are in the same performance. Well, Jackie's helper, like me, and then Owie is in the performance group. So we were all there together, and it was fun. We were working, exactly. We were working hard. We actually, yeah, that's one of the subjects we're talking about today. Is my recent trips, because I took 2 in the last 2 weekends. This is gonna be my first weekend home in 3 weeks. But let me finish getting started. Hello, everyone. I missed you. I'm back to streaming. Should be normal for a few weeks until my next anime convention at the end of March. Got an official title this time. I'm the handler. Yes! No, handler's important. It does not just mean you carry the bags. Handler is a legit thing, and it's important.
All jobs matter.
What was I saying? Oh, so we're on episode 22 of Nerd Out and Chill.
22.
If you guys aren't following my buddy Dupree, you should be. I also just want to make a funny comment right now that I am watching 2 separate streams on 2 separate devices while I am also streaming.
You're beating me.
I've got you on my phone, and then I've got my old phone, which I just use for, like, watching things and listening to things now. I've got Sly on the other one, because she's doing a surprise late night Fire Emblem stream, and I was like, oh, I watched that too. But anywho, guys, episode 22. Tonight we're going to be talking about my 2 recent trips, and we're going to talk about episodes 3 through 6 of the Last of Us HBO series, because we haven't talked about it since episode 2. And 6 was this week's episode. And I'm sure we'll talk about other things in between, because that's just how we roll.
Yeah. I get sidetracked. It's bad.
That's okay.
It's my brain.
It's okay. I was just talking about how I read the newest volume of Sasaki and Miyano yesterday, and it was fantastic. And
Yep.
I would recommend it, but Dupree, you're already on top of it, and you've already at least seen the anime, so.
I've seen the anime. I will look for, next time I'm at Barnes & Noble, I'll look for the manga volumes and pick them up.
They're very good. I will warn you, they're super skinny. Except for the newest volume. They're like... they're like half the size of a regular manga, and I'm like... Because I'm like, I feel like I'm getting gypped, but I'm going to buy it anyway because I love it. Rude.
If you're going to be half the size, you should be half the price.
Except for this current volume. It's almost... It's like regular volume size. I was like, oh.
Maybe they're built. Maybe the first volumes were just testing to see if people would be interested. And then they're like, all right, now we're going to put our all into this.
Sample volumes. Oh, no. But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, most of you guys do know because I announced it. But 2 weekends ago, so February 10th, I cannot believe it's already been 12 days. But February 10th, I went to the Last Rockstars concert. For anyone who doesn't know what the Last Rockstars is, it is a J-rock band made up of famous J-rockers from other bands. So you have the founding member, Yoshiki, who is from X-Japan, which is a really, really big name in Japan. If you are into J-rock at all, you've probably heard of X-Japan. And if you're not into J-rock, but you're into mainstream anime, he did write the theme song for Attack on Titan Season 3. He was not the singer for it. However, the singer is also in The Last Rockstars. His name is Hyde. He is originally from a well-known band called Larkin Ciel. They did a lot of anime openings in the early 2000s and a couple of late 90s ones. He is a phenomenal vocalist and is very small. He's a very small man, but has a very big voice. He's like 5'3". He's not even an inch taller than I am.
Wow.
But he has a very manly voice. And then you have one of the guitarists his name is Sugizo. His first band, and the one that he is actually credited for as far as this is concerned, is a band called Luna Sea. It's 2 words, Luna Sea, but it's supposed to be Lunacy. But he is also in X Japan with Yoshiki, so he works very closely with Yoshiki. And then the youngest member, his name is Miyavi, and he does a bunch of solo stuff. He is a very talented artist. And it's the whole point of it being called The Last Rock Stars is because they're all older. I mean, they are older. I don't know why I'm doing quotations. They are older. Three out of the 4 of them are over 50. So the youngest one is 41. So only 2 years older than I am. And then the next ones, the Hyde and Sugizo, are both 54 this year. Hyde just had his birthday at the end of January, and Sugizo's is coming up, and they'll be 54. And then Yoshiki is 56. And of course, because they're all Japanese, they don't look like a day over 30.
They look like they're 10 still.
They
have some awesome genetics. They're very lucky.
They don't really look old until they're like 70, and it happens overnight.
Yeah, well, and even then, I feel like 70 to 100, it's just the same. Like, it's the same. It's like from like 20 to 69, they're one age, and then from 70 to 100, they're another age. That's it.
They don't
There's
age
no
again
difference.
until they get past 100.
Yep.
But
and even then, who knows? With all the makeup tricks they have, they could be 90 and look 40.
Crazy.
So
yeah,
it's like,
crazy.
jeez.
But yeah, so I went to their show. This was their debut tour. Was trying to make that one word, debuter.
Debuter.
It's not a word, guys.
Okay, I count it.
But,
I would have never known.
So I went to that in LA with my roommate Christy and the bestie Kopic / Jesse, and then we also went with a good friend of ours, Subaru. But yeah, that was super fun. It was awesome. I am short and therefore had a terrible seat because it's just general admission, ground level. Everyone taller than me had better seats than I did. But I have no regrets going. It was still incredible. It was a phenomenal live show. They all are fantastic live. Like, they all perform very well. And yeah. Crowd energy was really cool. It was really awesome. I haven't been to a J-Rock show in like 11 years and that was X Japan. So I saw two of them. 2 of the people who were on stage, I saw them at that last show. But yeah, it was awesome. Highly recommend. If they tour again and you can go see them, I definitely recommend it. They are fantastic. But for their debut tour, they only did 4 locations, and 2 of those were in Tokyo. So they did 2 venues in Tokyo. They did 1 venue with 2 nights in New York, and then the finale night was just 1 show in Los Angeles. So, but it was very cool. I was exhausted out of my freaking mind after that trip, though, just because like it was pretty whirlwind. Like, we drove down Thursday night to Vegas after Kappa got off work, and then we didn't get to Vegas till it was midnight, 1 o'clock our time, and then we got up in the morning and then finished the drive to LA. And then that night was the concert. And by the time, due to traffic, by the time we got to the hotel, we only had about an hour to get ready to go to the concert. So we went to the concert, and then we went home, and we went to bed, and then the next morning we went to Little Tokyo for like 3 hours, and then we drove home. 3 of us had to make the full 10-hour drive home because we stopped in Vegas long enough to drop off our friend, and then we made the 6-hour drive after that home. So it was a long day in the car. It was a lot of time in the car over 3 days, period.
Yeah.
And then I got to go back to Vegas last weekend.
Stayed there.
Didn't have to go all the way to LA at least, but yeah, I went to we had the Level Up Expo with the Otaku Dreams Cosplay Cafe. If you guys haven't heard of them, you can find them on, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They have a YouTube channel. You can look them up on YouTube and see some of their performances recorded by Midnight Persona. But yeah, that is my besties traveling maid and butler cafe entertainment group, which I was wrangled into singing on stage this weekend as a part of a duet with Subaru, and it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life, but I'm very proud that I did it. And
I would have to drink a lot to do that.
And I'd
be too scared.
The goal is to get me to do it more so that I will be less afraid, because they would like me to sing more with them. And if I can get less afraid, then maybe we'll do some singing on stream in the future. But
I was gonna say, you gotta do that or record it, show us a video.
Well, once someone no one in my crew was able to record my performance. But we do have a friend that was recording it, and so when they get it posted, I will make sure that I post it for people to see. And then I get to perform it again at the event we're going to in March, because we have another convention that we're doing in March. So Level Up Expo is in Las Vegas. I highly recommend it. We've been going to Level Up Expo for the past 6 years, and this was their 10th year anniversary. They are a 3-day gaming anime technology convention. Super cool. Also, it's in Vegas, so if you like Vegas, then that's the other point, is hey, it's a cool convention and it's in Vegas. And the nice thing about that event is because they know they're in Vegas, so they actually none of their panels start till later. I want to say maybe they had 11 a.m., but I think noon is the latest panels they had, starting earliest, not latest, earliest panels. And then Dealers Hall didn't open till noon, and the convention actually closes every night around 8:30, 9 o'clock, as opposed to having late night events, because they want people to go to their after party. They have a huge, big deal after party every night of the event. It's this big fancy bar with music and dancing and drinks and cosplayers, and I don't do it because I'm old. I get done with the day and I'm like, okay, it's time for food and to go lay down because I'm old and tired.
I need sleep.
I'm really not old. I don't feel like I'm old, but when I am doing cons, that is when I feel my age the most. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I used to do these all hours of the day?
It's hard when you're not used to that lifestyle. Once you get settled in a calmer lifestyle and you're just relaxing, cruising along, it's you try to do these full day events, and you're after 6 hours, you're I need a nap.
Man, I'm so tired. And it was so funny because we were supposed to have a table to sell some of our group merch at and whatnot, and due to miscommunication that didn't happen, which was fine. It was really kind of a blessing in disguise this time, because I didn't have to go super early Friday morning to set up my table because we got there so late Thursday. So that worked out. And then, like, with me being so tired then each night and, like, actually not getting to bed till, like, 2 due to life, I didn't have to get up early to go run the table. So, I mean, that was nice. But at the same time, I was also sad because I actually love running the merch table. I like having a place to like chill and hang out all day, and like I get to see so many people at the con pass by the table, so that's always really fun. But didn't get to happen this time. That's okay. It'll happen at the next event. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. I just, as a con goer, I always recommend it. I used to go to that one. I got to go to that one for fun 1 year. And then they started inviting us out as guests. It's like, well, guess I'm just working it from now on. That's okay. But it's probably one of my favorite conventions presently. It's a really good one. I highly recommend it, especially for people who like Vegas life and anime and gaming. Like, it's the best of both worlds.
I like Vegas on vacation, but I don't think I could live there.
Oh,
at least not downtown.
I hate the desert. I could never live there. It's so desert. It's so desert. I would no.
It is. Like, unless you're like right in the middle of like centered like downtown, it's just rocks and dirt and nothing else.
No thanks. I moved from somewhere like that. I don't need to live somewhere else like that. Thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, it was super great. We were super tired when we got home, but that's okay. That's all right. My next convention is only an hour away, so I'm really hyped about that.
That's a plus.
Yeah, I'm like, yes. I don't have.
Do you get downtime to where like you get to walk the floor and stuff when you guys get invited as guests, or you just
usually yes. We only had a couple hours this time, which honestly worked out because I didn't have really much of a spending budget, so I didn't get a lot of shopping time this time around. But yeah, usually it depends on the show. It depends on how much we're doing at the show. Normally we would have had a little bit more downtime at this show, but we were also working on a filming project with a local, who was a press guy for the event. He was working on filming a special video for the event, and he had talked to us previously about doing some special sequences for the video, and so we actually spent, a significant amount of time filming for that. And so didn't have as much time as we normally would have. But otherwise, normally for that show we have a little bit more time. But like, for example, our next show, we are doing, so we're going to have an art/merch table, as well as a couple of performances, possibly a couple of panels, but we're also doing what we call a maid cafe experience. So the convention is actually letting us host a maid and butler cafe, which will keep us pretty busy. So we probably won't have hardly any downtime at that event specifically, but that's okay. Because we are there to promote and get our names out there and make people happy. So yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it's cool because we're actually so we've been doing this for like 10 years, and we're finally gaining a little bit of traction. We're steadily getting invited more places without like, because normally the places we got invited at are because like we knew someone who could like hook us up with at least, a couple of hotel rooms and maybe, just a couple of performance slots. But we're starting to get approached and get invited out to events where we don't necessarily have a connection. And we're getting a fan base to where it's like, I don't know, it's really cool because what the cafe has done is we've created, I say we as a whole, but I'm really just a managerial assistant. Which I'm not saying my job isn't important, but I am not a performer. I am not one of the characters. But the cafe members have all created like these character personas, and we're getting like their own logos and their own artwork and like their own lore. So it's like its own piece of media, and we want to do like maybe like animatics and comics for it later. So it's like its own thing. And so we're starting to build like a fan base for like different members of the cafe, and that's really cool. So it's been really fun to see it grow into something more than most of us ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Would be lots of fun.
Yeah. Like when we hold a meet and greet panel, people actually want to come and like hear about like character backgrounds and like interact with the maids and butlers, and it's really cool. It's really cool to watch. I remember the first time we held a meet and greet, we were like, are people even going to come to this? Like I don't know, but we keep getting surprised, and it's really cool. You show
up, they will show up.
Yeah. Build it and they will come.
Exactly.
Yeah, just cool stuff, guys. Cool stuff. But yeah, that's the Otaku Dreams Cosplay Cafe. You can find us most places. We don't have our own TikTok yet, but we're working on it.
Soon. That'll be nice.
Yes, soon. All right, cool. There's not really a good segue into Last of Us, so I'm just going to say segue into Last of Us. So the first episode we're going to talk about, obviously, guys, this is the spoiler zone. We're not going to not mention spoilers. So if you don't want any Last of Us spoilers, as far as the show is concerned, you could probably come back at about 25 to 30 minutes, and that's when I will be transitioning to Fire Emblem. But if you don't care about spoilers or you've seen it, stick around.
Should have seen it by now.
Definitely. But again,
been
that's
a while.
only if you have HBO, and I've just been shoveling out the money for HBO so that I can watch Last of Us. I haven't watched anything else on there. I've just been watching Last of Us.
There's lots on there.
I'm sure there is.
But even if you just watch Last of Us, you do it for the month, cancel it, and then move on.
Yeah, I'll probably cancel it after Last of Us just because I have so many other streaming services that I pay for.
Yeah.
I try really hard to only pay for the ones I'm currently using.
Yeah. HBO doesn't have anime really, so it's kind of useless.
And that is, other than like The Last of Us and like my Chinese dramas, that's like the majority of what I watch is anime. So, although I have a free trial on Hulu right now because I wanted to watch What We Do in the Shadows. So I am like 2/3 done with that show. Because those are short episodes, just like anime. And it might as well be anime. It's so ridiculous. But I love it. It's fun. It's a fun one.
I have Hulu from my phone, but I never use it.
You should try What We Do in the Shadows. It's a ridiculous vampire comedy, and I love it.
I'll have to look at it.
Gotta sleep. All right, good night, Howie. Good night. I do know they originally did a movie, and then there's a series. I'm watching the series first, and then I'm gonna watch the movie. But it's really funny. It's about 3 vampires and an energy vampire that live in Staten Island, and it's just funny. I don't know. I think you'll think it's funny. I don't know. If you don't think it's funny, it's fine, but I think it's funny.
I have a pretty wide variety of what I find humorous and all that. I'm pretty easy to entertain.
Pretty terrible. Oh, no worries, Jackie. Sleep well. No worries. I appreciate the lurkage. Alrighty, so Last of Us, episode 3 is the episode we're going to start with. This was Long, Long Time is the name of the episode. And this was the episode that deviated the most from
so far,
the game.
I would say like 100%. Well, maybe. I mean, we don't know technically, because in the game they could have been together, and then we just got the tail end, and they only changed how they died.
Correct, and that's kind of what I'm going off of, is because there were So let me go ahead and lay down the groundwork for those of you who may not know what we're talking about. So episode 3 of The Last of Us is about two characters named Bill and Frank. They are characters who we never actually meet Frank while he's alive. In the game, we only meet Bill. And we know Bill because he does trading with Joel and Tess. In the game, we meet Bill as Joel and Ellie. We hang out with him for a little bit, and then we meet Frank's corpse. So you find out that because there's some very specific moments that do explain Bill and Frank's situation. You have to be pretty dense not to catch what they're saying, because there is a moment where Bill talks about how he once had a partner, aka someone he cared about and had to take care of, and that made it really difficult. And then you find you find Frank's body, and then there's obviously some emotions there, and then there's a letter from Frank that you can find. You can also not find it if you're not very thorough in searching the house. And then there's the gay male naughty magazine that is found in the back that Ellie likes to tease us as Joel with. So those are all of your little signs. Those are the things that are saying Bill is gay. If you chose to ignore those, then I don't know, but they were there. He's been
really
gay all along.
Getting to see their backstory. I thought it was really cool.
So that's what they did in this episode, is we actually got to see how Bill and Frank met. We got to see their relationship through the years, and they did change Bill and Frank's end. I
was kind of sad about that, because I was really looking forward, like from episode 1, I was looking forward to hearing Ellie and Bill and their back and forth. I wanted to hear that so bad because it's so funny in the game. And then when they killed him, I was like, but Ellie, no.
Yeah, part of me was sad and part of me was happy with the way they did that, because it would really suck for Bill after all that time. It would really suck for him to live after Frank had died.
I think it would have been his character would have been kind of destroyed and ruined, and he'd just kind of be really, I would assume he'd be bitter and just kind of really quiet and alone and not wanting to live but being alive. It's kind of a bummer we didn't get to see some things with the sass back and forth. And I mean, technically he doesn't even die into the second game, I don't think. Isn't he in the town still?
We don't actually know. Once we leave Bill in the first game, that's it. That's the last we see or hear from Bill.
But I thought it was a really good ending to the story, and it made more sense doing it that way. I think it was kind of interesting to change, because isn't that when Bill, we go to the school for the battery, right? Isn't that the first time we run into a bloater?
Correct.
So they changed that part, because then we'll get the bloater comes later in the show. They
did change where we first meet the bloater, but and my first opinion when I finished this episode, other than the fact that this freaking episode made me cry, I got to the end of the episode and I was like, you know what? That deviated so much, but not really. And then I was like, but I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad that it deviated, because it was so well written and acted.
Yeah, what they changed doesn't change any of the actual story. Following the game, it doesn't affect anything down the line.
It just gives us background to Bill and Frank, and the letter that Bill wrote to Joel, I feel like it was a really good story beat, as far as Bill saying, "You're just like me, and we were put on this planet to protect other people. And like I found my person to protect, and once they were gone, I was satisfied and I was done." And the whole point is he's telling Joel, he's like, "You're just like me in the way that you are meant to protect someone. So you need to do that because that's what you're here for." And Joel's like,
Like, fine.
because the whole, Ellie is still new to him, and the pain of Tess's loss is really still fresh there. And he's like, fine, whatever. Okay, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was a beautifully written episode.
Yeah,
I thought
I liked it.
Both of the actors did a fantastic job playing Bill and Frank, and yeah, I just really, really liked it. It's really funny. I was sad at the end of the episode because they played a different song in the truck. I was like, oh man, but I like the song they play in the truck. But at the beginning of the next episode, they played that song in the truck. So they saved it. I was like, oh, perfect.
You're like, okay, I forgive you.
I was like, redeemed. Oh man. But and then once we get back to Joel and Ellie, it goes back on track pretty solid as far as the plot of the game is concerned.
Yeah. Everything kept on pretty well at that point. There was a interview that Joel's actor did, and he was talking about how during majority of the episodes they had to pause filming on and off because he would get so emotional. He would start crying mid-filming, and then when he was off screen, he was just off behind the cameras crying because he was getting so emotionally upset in every scene. I'm like, I couldn't imagine having to do that and like get in that mindset. I'd be a basket case the whole time.
Right. And that's actually, that like mirrors a lot of like even Troy Baker, who played Joel originally in the games. There were times, depending on the scene they were playing, he would like be like, can we take 5? Like, I need a minute. Like,
right. And especially like, I mean, I feel like the Pedro Pascal and the Bella Ramsey, they're like, you see the relationship building little by little, especially in the most recent episode.
Yes.
And stuff. But in the game, like you see the same thing, like between the two, like their connection and the voice acting and everything. It's done really, really well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And yeah, please hold to my hand. This was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting. I was like, they're in Kansas City instead of Pittsburgh. But then you find out that they just did it off of Kansas City because the city they could actually film in just looked more like Kansas City. And they're like, it's fine. We'll just change the city. It's no big deal. But the scene with the whole, them trying to bait them in, like, oh, help me, I'm hurt. And she's like, are we going to help him? And he's like, no. That whole scene was very, like, almost
spot on.
Yeah, pretty,
like shot for shot.
It was very, I was like, oh,
amazing.
Wow, yeah, this is just the scene from the game. Good job.
Yeah, it's another thing I noticed. Every time they step into a house or gas station, convenience store, like, it feels like they really took the building straight out of the game and just plopped it down into an environment. It's like, dang, you guys did a good job matching the environment.
Where they match, and then where they deviate, they do a really good job. So it's like, I'm not even, it doesn't even bother me that they make changes. Yeah, because they're good changes. They haven't been bad changes at all. And it was really a really interesting scene that they added to episode 4 is when the one guy in that laundromat that they crash into, is when the one guy catches Joel off guard and Ellie shoots him in the back, and it's obvious that this guy is now suddenly paralyzed. That was a really interesting scene to add, as far as like, it was very humanizing and like, oh crap, she didn't just out and out kill him. So now there's this back and forth of, hey, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I can't feel my legs. Hey, my mom is nearby. Can you get me to her? And then Joel, knowing the situation, like, well, this guy is now paralyzed for life. There's nothing can be done for him. And he just tried to kill us. And I don't want her to have to do it, so he just ends the guy's life. And then there's the whole conversation of, you shouldn't have had to do that. I'm sorry. I thought that was a really, really interesting conversation between Joel and Ellie when he's like, you're 14.
Another bonding
You shouldn't
point.
have had to do that.
The whole scene, I was like, Joel, kill him, shoot him, do something. He has to die.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is they basically, that scene also represented, in the game, that scene represented the scene in the hotel where Joel's being held underwater and then Ellie comes up and shoots the guy in the head, therefore saving Joel. So they just replaced that scene with this new one, but also added layers of emotion and complication to it. And I thought that was really...
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting.
I liked it.
And I think the whole revolution and uprising that they've added to this episode, because originally, yes, we know that the QZ has been taken over by rebels. We know that Fedra's been kicked out and destroyed, but the way the people act in the game is it's just a bunch of awful dudes who kill everyone they find, basically. But in this one, again, they have given us a humanized community. It's like, we're people too. We go through the same struggles. But, if they didn't attack first, we wouldn't have had to kill you. Like, I think that every time someone attacks us in The Last of Us, it's like,
started it.
If you talk first, maybe they won't kill you. Like, come on.
Right.
But they always come out just guns blazing.
It's like, why? You don't even know. Like, maybe we're not infected. Maybe we'll just go our separate ways. Maybe you make buddies and you have new trade people.
Right?
Like instead,
we
now
could help each other out, but no, you gotta attack me
just look
first.
pathetic because 10 of you got killed by one person.
Right, exactly. But yeah, and I thought the new character Kathleen, the rebel leader Kathleen, was an interesting add. Just because it's like, oh, okay, I see. We have this person who's obsessed with finding one person. As soon as she said Henry, I was like, oh, is that our Henry? Have we given our Henry a slightly different part? And they did. They did give Henry a slightly different part. Did you know? So you have Kathleen, and then you have Perry, her big military guy that follows her around. Did you know that that's Tommy's original actor from the games?
Oh, the big guy?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was watching the behind the scenes at the end of the episode,
and I just let him be Tommy.
And I was like, oh, I think because he's too old at this point to actually be Tommy. But I mean, the guy they got to do Tommy sounds just like Tommy too.
Yeah,
so
he did
that worked out. But yeah, so I thought that was cool that they brought this actor in to play a new part because he's Tommy. I was like, oh, cool. And like once I knew, I could hear it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you are Tommy. I hear it now. I did think
I'll have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, and then like listen. Now that you know, like listen to him when he talks, and you're like,
you'll hear it.
Aha, I see. But yeah, what was I gonna say? I don't remember. So yeah, episode 4. Again, new additions, but still follows a lot, and it's just really good. These episodes just keep getting better and better, in my opinion.
And they're following the game so well.
Yeah, like the actual base line of the game, they're following very well. And it's almost like
very minor changes other than the Bill and Frank, which the Bill and Frank was a perfect deviation.
Yeah.
They did amazing with that anyways, so it doesn't even it's like almost if they did that in the game or gave more context into that side of it, it probably would have been just as good in the game.
Yeah. For sure. Yep. I feel the same way. Like they've followed it really well, and where they have deviated, it's been good.
Yeah.
And that brings us up to episode 5, Endure and Survive, where you do
one of the saddest ones again.
You do finally meet Henry and Sam.
It's kind of like every other episode, really. Episode 1, 3, like 5.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. I mean,
so what are we up for in episode 7? What's going to happen there?
According to the trailer at the end of the episode, that's going to be the DLC content. So Riley.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was going to say.
So yeah, it's going to be sad.
I was going to say because
Riley's
with
the
end of episode 6, we get left with Joel, which I'll get more to that because they changed that bit. But you get that, and then they jump into the DLC. Instead of jumping forward to the snow and the bunny.
Technically is where the DLC takes place. So it just means that the DLC story is going to be happening chronologically. Because if you remember in the DLC, half of the DLC is playing Ellie while Joel is unconscious because she's trying to find medical supplies for him. And then the other half of it is flashback to Riley. So yeah, it looks like that is... So sequentially, that's where it belongs, which I think is really cool.
But it leaves everybody else hanging.
Yeah, but we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that because we're on episode 5.
5. Henry and Sam.
Which I did think it was really interesting. So first of all, they made Henry what they call a collaborator, which means that he ratted on neighbors and shit to Fedra.
Which is why Kathleen's after him, because he turned in her brother,
yep, who was the original rebel leader. But then you find out that he did that to get proper medication for his own little brother. So
Sam, because he had leukemia.
Yep. Which I thought it was really interesting. I actually really like this change. I thought it was really interesting that they made Sam deaf.
Yeah, because he wasn't in the game, right?
He's not deaf in the game.
I didn't think he was.
No, but I thought that was a really interesting change. In fact, I've been watching the Companion podcast. Well, listening to the Companion podcast every day after the episode. And it was really interesting because the director mentioned this change to Neil Druckmann, the creator of The Last of Us. And Neil was like, I hate that I didn't think of that. Like, this is a great change. I hate that I didn't think of this initially. Because it does because they said the reason is that it creates another layer of need. Like, it makes it so Sam needs his brother all the more. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. The actor that they got to play Sam actually is a deaf actor, so...
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, he's actually a deaf actor.
Makes it easier to play the part.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just were basically teaching everyone on set to learn sign because they all wanted to talk to this kid. They're like, he's so cool. I want to talk to him. How do I do it?
24/7 interpreter on site.
Yeah, basically. Well, I mean, they did have an ACL director there to help with like communication and whatnot. But yeah, I did think it was really interesting how they changed the scene of when we the audience find out Sam is bit, he's revealing it to Ellie.
Yeah,
which he didn't do in the game. Yeah, he didn't do that in the game, which I thought was really, really interesting. Because they wanted to create an opportunity for her to try and heal someone with her blood. They just
wanted to tug at everybody's heartstrings and give people hope.
Correct.
Got my girlfriend really good.
That and like, it was a really good example of like, even if you don't think it's going to work, it gave Ellie the opportunity to comfort him in the way that you would comfort a young, scared child, even if you know that it's not going to end up well.
Yeah.
So that whole scene, the new version of that scene, I thought was, again, different, but great. I thought it was really
I thought
good.
it was really good. I liked with or without the change, I think it was really good. I think the change, like you said, it added a lot of like emotional value to it and potential and everything, development for Ellie's character. But it was really good. I like that part really well. The ending obviously sad because he has to go and all that, and then to see Henry's reaction was pretty intense. Like that scene I feel like in the game it lasted forever before like it ended, and the show it was like you're on edge. It happened so fast but yet so slow. It's like, oh my god, what just happened?
Yeah, no, definitely. And another interesting thing that ties into how like the second game ends, there is a specific moment in the scene where Sam is talking to Ellie that really hit me different when I got to the end of the second game, actually. And then like I went back and replayed the first one, and then you hit this line, and it definitely hits different after the end of the second game, because, you know, Sam says, why are you never afraid of anything? And she's like, I am. I'm afraid of ending up alone. And like when you get to the end of the second one,
that's exactly what happens.
That's where she's at. It's so like when
but
you
she
think
did it
about
to
it,
herself,
when
though.
you think about it, you're like, like
she chose it. She could have stayed and left her alone. And technically, if she had left her alone,
though.
The jerk would have died on the beach where she belonged.
Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. But also what we got in this episode was we got our first massive amount of infected. Like we got a ton
I was gonna say,
of
that
infected.
was another change. The one, you get the bloater, which the entrance for that thing was super cool.
Yeah,
and
they
really made it look so beastly. I was so excited. But then like the amount of infected and how quick and massive they just come rushing out, it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, and the interesting thing is while it is a change, it is also not a change. Because if you remember that sequence in the game, so first of all, they changed it a little bit this time where it's at night, obviously, but you know, you have that street where you have to like sneak up on the sniper as Joel, and then once you kill the sniper and you take his place, there are a bunch of infected that you have to shoot.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they still did keep somewhat in the same portion of it. There wasn't a bloater at that time.
Yeah, it was the scene was a little bit different, but we got a ton of infected in that scene. We did get to see our first bloater, which tore a guy's head off.
I know, just clean it and ripped it. I was like, oh my god, that's so violent.
Well, it was so funny because I was like, well, I mean, that's pretty accurate to what happens in the game, because if that bloater gets a hold of you, he like grabs Joel's like face and like pries the face and jaw open. You know, if the scene didn't go to black, top of his head would just be coming right off. So it's pretty accurate.
It was really interesting, and I was like, every time Joel took a shot and it was like right next to Ellie, I was like, if I was Ellie, by the end of that scene, I'd be like, quit shooting at my face.
Right? Like, geez, you tried to shoot me, or you tried to shoot them. Oh man,
I'm so confused. Are you missing?
But that was another, speaking of the sniper, that was actually another really interesting little moment with Joel, is when he does approach the sniper and he's just like, it's like, all you have to do is just leave, just walk away,
he gave him the option.
Don't make a move.
Like,
but like,
are you old and want to die or what?
He did, and you know, part of me wonders if that was it. If, you know, he was
like, he's just old and done,
old and miserable, and might as well just go out this way. It's fast and quick, and I don't have to do it myself. Like, I don't know. But,
Or, I mean, he was alerting Kathleen, right? So maybe he was afraid if he let Joel go that
yeah, something.
he would get, like, captured, tortured by them.
Because
And
Kathleen
so
was crazy obsessed.
yeah, he's like, this is a better death than what's to come if
Right?
I let you go.
better you kill me than Kathleen does. But again, yes, that episode left off at a really sad moment.
That was tough to watch.
I did like that they let us see that they had buried them this time, and we got like a little moment there because they just talk about it later in the game. But yeah, that was a rough place to end. And then we skipped 3 months because we're walking across the country.
Yep.
But we skipped 3 months in the game too, so it works with the flow of the game. That's what we did there as well. But I really liked the opening in the old couple's house. I thought that was really fun. Like, he's like, "You made him soup?" And she's like, "Uh-huh."
Yep. Did you lie to him? Nope. Are you lying to me? No.
Yeah.
Like, that lady was killing me. I loved her.
There are Firefly people? That was so funny.
That scene, that whole thing, that was amazing. I love that.
That was a great scene. That was a fun little... What I thought was really interesting is that scene was a significantly less violent version of a scene we have with Joel in the game when he, has the map and he's trying to figure out where Ellie is. And, he's got the two guys.
The two guys. And,
so,
like, if you don't tell me the same thing as him, then you're dead.
Yep. And he kills the one guy anyway, and he ends up killing the other guy anyway. And it's like, to us, as the gamer, that's one of our first glimpses at what Joel is, like, truly capable of. Like,
he's vicious.
Cold-blooded, vicious, scary. Like, that's our first glimpses, scary old Joel. But obviously we've had glimpses of that in the show already, so they didn't necessarily have to do it that way this time. Because, I mean, we saw Joel beat a man to death with his fists in the end of the first episode. Like, we've already seen what he's capable of.
I'm hoping that, like, they do a third game and it's the 20 years between Sarah and Ellie of Joel's life, and there will be a season 3 of that. Like, that would be amazing.
There is a rumor that there's going to be a part 3, but I don't know what part. I mean, unless they did that, I don't know what part 3 would be about. It would be really interesting. I don't know. But yeah, I liked how this would started, and then obviously this is when we get to meet Tommy. Which was great. It was really cool because in the game, we don't actually get to go to Jackson. Like, in the city, we just hang out at the water plant, the electricity plant. There we go. So it was cool that we actually got to go to Jackson this time, and they're like, "Oh wow, look at this functioning, happy city." Like, it's little.
Yeah, the whole city. It almost reminded me of the town that we start in.
Well, that's because it is. I mean, it is that town. Is that town? Okay. Yeah, it is exactly that town. So it was very much, we got to get that. We got to see that this time, because in the first game, you don't ever go into town. You see it from afar, but you don't ever get to go.
Yeah, you just go to the tower, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things I really, really liked about this episode is we got one of my favorite scenes, which is a pretty classic scene that a lot of people remember, and that's the whole, when he's like, you're right, you're not my daughter. That whole scene where she's like, is this all they had to worry about was, what skirt matched what shirt, and like whether or not boys liked them and whatnot. And it's when, Joel has decided that Tommy's going to take her, and this was a scene that I was looking forward to seeing the new actors do. And I feel like it's almost verbatim. It's only slightly different, and I feel like they did just as good a job. It's delivered slightly different due to just the slight differences that they've done in the show, but I feel like it was just as impactful.
Yeah, they did. I think they did a really good job with it. I liked it a lot. The one thing that I towards the end of the episode that I wish they had done the same as the game is how Joel got hurt, because I feel like that would have been more intense instead of the way they did it. But I mean, I guess maybe for episode timing that would have taken longer. But
I don't know if it was episode timing or... Anyway, go ahead. I'll put my 2 cents in a second. Continue.
But yeah, I don't know if it was episode timing or if it was just like they didn't want to do quite as much fighting because I mean they went in the building, so I mean they could have fought their way out the same and done all of that. So I don't really know like what the point in the change was, but I feel like had they had him fall and get impaled by the rebar, it would have just been way more intense with that fighting through the building, him falling, getting hurt, her having to pick him up off and stumble to the horse, and then he stumbles, falls off, and same ending, just that little bit right there. I don't know, I just feel like they kind of took away like a good opportunity for a really intense, like to make that moment more intense. I feel like the whole bat into the stomach was just very rushed and short and just, I don't
know. They actually talked about why they changed that, and I don't remember what they said on it, but I feel like it was probably changed mostly for time. As far as like there wasn't really a smooth way to fit that into this episode, and they probably didn't want to make it part of the next episode. I also feel like they talked about it being a more realistic injury for him to live through. It's still a really bad injury that could kill him, but I feel like the rebar was definitely a less realistic injury for him to live through in the situation of the game. Yeah. Like in modern society with modern hospitals and medicine, yes, he could probably live through that, but I feel like in the actual world of The Last of Us, that injury was kind of pushing it.
Yeah. If it went straight through, they could have like just made him fall a little bit more to the left, and it could have gone like through this, like the side fat of him and not directly through his kidney. And then it would have made sense. He could survive that. Like a flesh wound, but severe.
Shoot. Oh, too funny.
But it was really good though.
It was still really great.
Yeah. I think it's a good tie off. And I can't believe that that's how they're going to tie into the DLC, because everybody's got to wait 2 episodes to find out that he's not dead.
Right? Can you imagine being one of the people that hasn't played the game and you don't know?
Yeah.
You don't
know? My
girlfriend,
she made me tell her. She was dying. She's like, did he just die? I can't not know. You have to tell me.
Well, and even in the game, when you're very first playing the game, you're like not sure. Because
it cuts straight into Ellie going into the snow and shooting the bunny, which is my favorite meme of the girl screaming. Like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love that scene so much because of that. It makes me laugh. But then you got to play through the snow and the mountains hunting, and then you go into the town, and then you run into those few guys, I believe, and all that. And everything goes kind of haywire. Then you have to go fight for hours through a town and everything else, killing people just to get back to Joel in some random house. And you're like, oh, he's alive, finally. I know.
Right? It's like, oh, woo! Because, yeah, when you first start playing that, you're like, and?
You're like, okay. I mean, it didn't show him die, but it kind of looked like he sure did die.
Yeah, so it's for people who haven't played the game, it's gonna be a long couple of weeks. They're probably gonna get to next week's episode and be like, and what about Joel?
Right? What? This doesn't tell me. This doesn't answer my question.
This doesn't tell me what happened.
Right. Oh, that would be another sad episode too, because. Well, we know.
Cause Riley.
Sad. It's gonna be a tough one. And especially too, that'll be interesting to see, because Ellie always plays the tough girl now, and that's more of her weaker emotional side. So it'll be interesting to see how they portray that through the episode.
Oh, another thing they added, which I really liked, is they talk about how Ellie loves like space and astronauts.
Which will really tie in game 2.
Yep.
That'll be another good
I was like,
emotional
oh,
scene. You're like,
oh.
Yes. They have to add that into one of the episodes. I mean, I'm sure they will because if they're following the game so close this time.
That scene is so good. That whole birthday experience was such a good scene.
I'm also wondering too if they're gonna try and milk season 2 at all and potentially split it into 2 seasons where they do the first 3 days into one season and then the second 3 into season 3 and split it like for each person.
Gosh, I don't know.
Since the game is split, or if they're just gonna do it like an episode a day.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out when we get there. That's pretty wild. What was I gonna say? I don't know. It's gone.
I wouldn't mind if they split it up and gave more content.
Right. I feel like there was something else I was gonna say about this episode, and I don't remember what it was. Oh well, it's gone now.
There was one interview or Easter egg thing that I was watching on The Last of Us, and they were talking about how in episode 1, when Sarah's in school, that they're going over all like the early stage symptoms and how people didn't really pick up on it, but the girl with the bracelet that was shining, her hand was twitching, and the muscle spasms, and then in the background you can hear somebody coughing, and the teacher, she says, oh, this assignment's due tomorrow, but tomorrow is Saturday, so it's like, does she have like a mental memory issue already? So it's like, are all these people infected and these are early signs already?
It's
and
pretty
like
crazy.
Half the class is sick and being infected. It's like, dang.
It's like, oh snap.
Yep.
Oh man, yep, cool stuff. Cool. And there's crazy little details like that, and you're just like,
you're like, what? I bet you, like a year from now, people will still be finding Easter eggs and dissecting the entire season. Like, oh, I found this, I found that. This connects here, and all the things. Like, it'll be really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, and the game is like that too, though. When you like. It has replay value in the way that, like, depending on how deeply you investigate places and, like, how closely you're looking, there's all kinds of cool little Easter eggs, even just in the game. For example,
what you look at, what you do,
like
what letters you read and find.
When you find, like, there's a PlayStation 3 in a house that has, like, Jack and Daxter discs. and you're like, hey! Just neat little things like that, but they've always been really good about those tiniest details, and you're just like, wow.
Those are the fun ones when you see them, or you, like, people bring them up and they start, like, going on the fan base theories and stuff, or connecting things. It's always really fun to see that stuff.
Yeah. I think there's 3 episodes left of this season. I think there's supposed to be 9.
I believe so.
Which I believe, with the pace it's taken, I think the next episode is going to be the DLC content, and then I think episode 8 is going to be the David, Mr. Cannibal, creepy guy, and then Salt Lake City.
Yeah, the hospital
will be the last episode. So.
I can't wait to see that one. I'm gonna be at the end, as long as they follow it. It's gonna be like the game. I'm gonna be like, do it, kill it, do it, shoot her, stab her, something, get rid of her.
I'm interested to see, because I live an hour south of Salt Lake. I'm interested to see how the HBO interpretation of Salt Lake is.
It is gonna look. I want to know if we're gonna see Abby at all as a young Abby. If she'll make any pop-in appearance, talking to her dad or anything like that.
Speaking of stuff like that and Easter eggs, I think we might have seen Dina in this episode.
In the
most recent one.
In 6, really?
Yeah, because there's a moment when they're eating with Tommy and Maria. Ellie notices that there's a girl staring at her, and I think that might have
That might be.
been Dina.
I'll have to go back and I'll go back and listen to the one guy's voice, and then I'm gonna go back and I'll watch that scene again and see, because yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, because I think that was supposed to be our possible subtle introduction to Dina.
Something people will pick up on in season 2 when they're like, "Oh my god!"
They're like, oh wait,
It's her.
that was that girl that was staring at her the first time she showed up. It's also going to be interesting because there's a 4-year difference between the games. So it's going to be really interesting, like, casting-wise, what happens there, because, like...
Yeah, I don't like Bella Ramsey. She's already 19, playing a 14-year-old.
I mean, she doesn't even look 19 though. So
no, she looks like she's 12. She didn't even look 14.
That's gonna be.
But I'm curious if they're just like, because you can do a lot with some makeup and some like
I guess it'll be fine.
Changes.
Maybe she'll be fine. Maybe she'll be
you
fine.
can really make people look a lot older with that kind of stuff. So, and you got to figure they just aired this. The filming was probably at least 6 months old. So by the time the next one comes out, she's going to probably be a good 2 years older, at least, most likely. So, I mean, she'll be half the age gap jump already, but technically, if you change her wardrobe slightly, then maybe she'll age another bit and it'll work out.
Right.
Well, they definitely can't recast and change characters.
I forgot that she's 19 because she just looks so young.
Yeah, I was shocked when I found that out. I couldn't believe it.
With makeup, yeah, she'll be fine playing older Ellie because the age difference is gonna be close enough. I didn't even think. Yeah. I'm like, nah, she's like 12. She just looks 12.
I saw it on an interview thing, and I was like, no way. I'm like, she looks like she's 12. 13.
Yeah, I just went and looked it up now too. I was like, oh, yep, nope, she's 19. She's just one of those 19-year-olds that looks like they're 15. Like, that's fine. Man.
She's aging very well.
I don't know if it's because, like, the older I get, the younger everyone else looks.
Right.
Like when I see really young people driving, I'm like, are you even old enough to drive? Like,
you're a baby.
You look 13. Like, should you be driving? Like, where's your parent?
I swear, like, I started driving when I was 16. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I was too young. I should have never been behind a wheel till I was like 20. Like, no way. Like, I am all for bumping the age to 18. A 16-year-old has no business being behind a car. It is too much machine for somebody that young. There's like maybe 1% of the population of 16-year-olds that are actually responsible enough to do that.
I like to say I was in that 1%. I was a pretty responsible
I was
driver.
Not. I was far away from that 1%. I should not have been in a car ever.
Oh man, I was so happy when I started driving because I was all about being able to take myself places and like not having to be limited by whether or not my parent could take me. As soon as I had a car, I got a job, and I was like, I'm
out, everywhere,
making my own money, gonna go do my own things. It's like, great.
You can't tell me no.
It was good. It was good. But but yeah, we're at This is basically time, and I think that's a good place to stop. I think we talked about all the really good story beats, and we stayed mostly on topic. I feel like we did pretty good there.
Yeah, we did pretty good. But we had a lot of episodes to cover, and The Last of Us, because we played the game so much, we both have a lot of
knowledge there. Yeah, I think that definitely helps because we've both. We're both pretty familiar with both games, and
I played them both twice.
Yeah, I've definitely played the first one
a
lot, but that's okay.
It's so good though.
It is so
watching
good.
The show makes me want to go through and play them again, but I'm like, I don't know if I can handle the emotional roller coaster.
Just play the first one again. And skip the beginning, because just skip that cutscene. Just skip that cutscene. It's like, I don't need to watch that.
Nope, not one. Nope.
I don't need to watch that sadness. It's fine. I skip it now when I'm doing playthroughs for fun. I'm like, and skip the heartache.
Done. I am not looking forward to the opener in season 2. That even if they carry it into episode 2 and it happens then. I'm probably like gonna just leave the room and be like, you can watch this by yourself. I don't want to see it.
I don't know. I
Like,
am
even if they
really
don't make it as graphic or gory, it's gonna be really hard to watch.
well, just yeah. I mean,
Just it happening in general.
and
I'm gonna
that's
be
why
angry
I'm
the whole season.
and
I'm gonna
that's
be
why
so
I'm
angry.
so curious. Like, I'm so curious with how much they're gonna keep for season 2. Like, how much of the second game are they? Like, are they going to be this faithful that they have for game 1, or are they gonna make
I think if they
some
don't,
artistic changes
they're gonna make a
because
lot of people angry.
well, I think either way, people. I think whether they make serious changes or they stick really close to the story, either way, people are going to be upset.
Yeah, I
Either
think
way.
that scene, if they want to change how it's done, sure, but the end result has to be the same.
Right, because
And
otherwise you're literally changing the entire story.
yeah, exactly. And the end of the game, that bit, if they want to change how that plays out, but the end result still needs to be the same, for the character development and everything, I'm really hoping that they still follow it close enough for that part of it. As far as the in between bits and stuff, I think it'll be okay. Another one, what's his name? Levi, is that the kid's name? Lev. That's another scene with his mom I'm not looking forward to. That's gonna be another tough, sad one.
Yeah, there's just a lot of emotions.
I'm excited to watch it though. I really
Like,
want to
so
watch it. It's
many.
gonna be good.
So
It's gonna
many
be like
emotions.
watching the seasons are just as emotional as playing the damn games. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. So season 2 is gonna be a rough one. I'm sure I'll be upset and angry, and maybe by the end I'll come to accept it again as I do every other time. But
Maybe.
while I'm processing it all, I'm not accepting. I'm angry.
There's anger.
Yeah,
Oh
so
man.
that'll be good. Next week, provided that we're all caught up on animes, we could probably talk about that and
Yeah,
Last of Us again.
I think the next one, I think what we could do is next episode we'll talk about all of our animes because we'll have a few episodes to talk about again, and then maybe the next podcast we'll be able to talk about the end of The Last of Us because we'll have the last 3
we'll have
episodes by then.
all of them by then.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good chunk. So
that sounds good.
So yeah, guys, thanks so much for joining us for this tonight. I really appreciate it. This will be
Thank
over
you.
on the YouTube channel. I have all the other episodes over there. And yeah, if you guys stick around while I do a BRB, I will be back to play some Fire Emblem. Dupree's gonna head off.
Can you imagine, like, maybe like a year from now, looking back on all of the episodes and everything we've talked about? It would be so much.
It's a lot. We've talked about a lot.
Crazy. Good stuff.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, good night, Dupree. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.
Right. Bye.
Bye.